Reginald, or should I say Stretchinald here, I'm very excited about Season 2, and I think we're going to see some very interesting shakeups. But we got to talk about Mr. Fantastic changes, since I think he's my main at this point. We've gotten very good looks at these patch changes in actual games now because of all the streamers who did it already, so we can make some reasonable claims about how he's going to play in the future. Also, fortunately for us, math is math, and I think I've worked some stuff out, so come tag along, I've got some showing to do. For those uninitiated, let's just go over the patch changes real quick. I'm just going to read them, and then we're going to move on to some actual interesting things. For Mr. Fantastic, we are enhancing Reed's capabilities while making some balance adjustments to his ultimate energy charge rate, adding additional control ability, and optimizing the release experience of his ultimate ability. I think they misspoke here. There are no changes listed here for ultimate energy charge rate. Instead, I think it's the passive charge rate that they changed, and that appears to be true from the patch notes. Okay, so number 1, increase base health from 350 to 375 health. That is a noticeable improvement to his general tankiness. One of the problems he has is if he gets blown out of his shields, shields can't be healed. So now his health pool is a little bigger. They can be healed more easily. He's going to be more tanky in little form, and he's going to be more able to be healed under his big form and not explode quite so fast when his shields run out. It actually is going to be noticeable because it's going to give healers more time to react to the fact that you're no longer shielded and they'll need to heal you, right? It also gives you a little bit more time to react, to get out of big mode and to get into your shift. So I think this is a big benefit overall. A swing in health, swing towards health is actually beneficial. I know it's not a huge number, but it's going to matter. Boost the damage from Stretch Punch from 60 to 65 and from 75 to 80 while in the inflated state. The 75 to 80 actually doesn't matter very much. Against a 250 HP hero, 3 swings still only does 240 HP, so you have to swing 4 times. Yes, you still swing 4 times at the slightly faster rate of 1 swing per 0.93 seconds, but it is going to be a total improvement of a noticeable amount of health in your total damage output against multiple targets. So I think it's a buff in general of the amount of pressure you can generate, but it's not going to change your time to kill breakpoints. What does change your time to kill breakpoints, though, quite a bit, is the 60 to 65. And this is where I think people are going to be really surprised. Little Reed really is about to start surprising a lot of unaware players with how much damage he suddenly puts out. He's kind of quiet, and he kind of just goes slap, slap, slap. And it does like only a little bit of damage, people feel like. And then this is going to change it from 5 hits to kill to 4 hits to kill. That's 1.1 seconds faster time to kill on squishies. So you're fighting a magic, you're fighting a Spider-Man, you're fighting a Cloak and Dagger. They're going to die noticeably faster. Everyone's going to be like, whoa, I just died to this Mr. Fantastic. What the heck just happened? Because that 5 damage makes such a huge difference in that break point. And if you're fighting from behind the tanks as small Fantastic and you swing into the enemy team a bunch, they're going to suddenly like realize like they're taking a bunch more damage than they expected. That's how this is going to feel to other people, just because of that small change, because they're going to suddenly die. They're going to be like, I got plenty of health, you know, I'm going to get healed in a second here, and then just dead. It's going to be very shocking. Flexible elongation, new effect. Enemies within range now suffer a 35% slow effect. Reduced flexible elongation cooldown time from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. So this is a buff to the usage uptime on this, which means more health over the course of a game to you and your teammates, more safety in using this ability for mobility because it's easy to cycle back into it 8 seconds. It's much harder to cycle back into it 10 seconds. You don't have to sit on flexible elongation as much to preserve it in case you need it later. You know what I mean? You're gonna have a lot of uptime on this. But there is a question on how much impact that 35% slow effect is going to have. We'll have to see. We'll talk about that in a second. Reduce the elasticity gained from Elastic Strength passive ability from 30 to 20, while the elasticity provided by Stretch Punch is increased from 5 to 8. After entering the inflated state, the bonus health provided to self has been reduced from 450 to 400. Okay, there's a lot to unpack in this one, and I'll try to be quick about it. The 30 to 20, huge change in the negative. However, it doesn't appear based on the testing all the streamers are doing that this is actually true for as a passive. This appears to be specifically a nerf to flexible elongation, which now only does 20, which means you can get a maximum of 40 instead of 60 out of flexible elongation. But your right-click distended grip still appears to do 30, which means if you cycle all your abilities, you actually get 70, not 60. And that matters because you can swing fewer times with that 8 increase of 8 for Stretch Punch than you would have otherwise. So it's actually only, if you cycle all your abilities, you have to swing 4 times to get back into big mode. Now that's 2 swings worth than it is now, where you can swing twice. However, if you cycle your combo correctly, I have a combo for you that I think will work and feel almost as fast. Now the 450 health to 400 health, that is a nerf for his big mode, but it's a net nerf in his total health pool of about 25 HP. And you also have to remember that the 10 seconds to 8 seconds chain on flexible elongation means you can use flexible elongation more. So you're going to have more opportunities to have 75 HP additional going into that 400. Like, using one flexible elongation to go into big mode is not a bad plan anymore. It seems like there should work out in most cases. So you're going to actually have, on average, I think, more HP, not less. However, even if that doesn't prove to be true, I think the math still works in your favor because having a little bit more base health is going to make you more survivable in the total game because your healers are going to have more time to react to you. Okay. Lastly, new feature. When Mr. Fantastic uses Brainiac Bounce, ultimate ability, immediately gain bonus health equal to that gained when entering inflated state. We know from watching all the streamers that this does not stack. So if you are in big mode and then you use this ability, you don't get more health. You just refill the gauge to a maximum of 400. So the way you're going to end up using this, I think most of the time, is you're going to go big mode. And then if the opportunity presents itself and you've taken enough damage, you can use it to save yourself, right? I took 400 damage, I'm going to hit ult, right? And I'm going to just instantly get that health back and I'm going to jump on stuff. Another opportunity use case for this is I'm in small mode and the opportunity to use my ult is present, right? The enemy support is fighting, has dropped their ultimate, and I know it's going to expire in 6 seconds. So instead of having to worry about being in big mode, because I'm also in a support ultimate now, you know, I don't have to manage my elasticity. I can just hit Q when the timing is right, like every other hero in the game. So this is huge. It's also huge for stalls. If we think about the stalls in the video I posted just the other day that I did, I was on the point, I hit shift to get out of a Psylocke ult and stall point, and then I had to go big mode, and then I had to use my ultimate, and then I lost most of my overshields, right? Because I had no way to gain overshields again for a little while. I had to cycle all my abilities, so I bounced off point and then went up top, and then I recycled back into big mode. Okay, in this case, I actually gain, in that situation, an extra 400 health, right? If I have my ultimate, I get an extra 400 health on tap. I go big mode, I'm fighting on point, and as soon as I lose big mode health pool, right, I get down to like, 398 health or whatever. I just hit Q, instantly regain my health, and I'm bouncing on point. And then I get done with that, and all my cooldowns are back up, and now I cycle those cooldowns to try to get back to big mode. I could potentially have big mode 3 times, essentially, rather than 2 times if I have my ultimate available. So I think it's going to be huge for his stall capacity on payload and on point. I think he's going to be basically the stall king. Okay, let's do some clarifying stuff here. So I already mentioned one with the Brainiac Bounce. Let's talk about the slow effect. So I was watching Boger review it on the range, and this appears to be about
precisely 1 second,
which is nothing. It goes away super fast. So this is not the buff that it looked like, because imagine if you had like a big slow effect that could stack or something like that. That doesn't appear to be what's going to be happening here. This is significantly less impactful than I was hoping, but it's still a buff. The way I see it is it's going to be much easier to do follow-up RMBs after hitting a diver, right? You have to remember with flexible elongation that it is a 180 spell field in the direction you're facing. It doesn't affect enemies behind you. So if you are running into a group of enemies, you want to kind of like wiggle your camera just like you're doing with your normal attacks. But a slow effect is not going to be a big game changer, except for when fighting divers or enemies that are trying to run away from you. I think the real advantage here is it's booping enemies away from you and giving you space, but it prevents them from running away with the boost you gave them, right? They still have to stay close enough to you to fight, but at least until you're able to start moving again. So you can give chase, right? And then you can drop an R&B on them or whatever. It's going to make that shot a little easier. So I think it's a very like timing oriented buff, but it's going to be a benefit, but not a very big one. I was hoping it would be a big one. It's not a very big buff. There's 2 things I want to talk about here. One of them is the no regs issue. I think there's a hidden buff here for Mr. Fantastic that people don't know about. So I watched a wonderful video, by the way, by Medry Mystic. I was even cited in that video, so thank you very much for that, by the way. And he covers all of the problems that Mr. Fantastic has in great detail. So if you want to know like the state of Mr. Fantastic right now before the patch, you could go watch that video and you could get a really good understanding from a very detailed level of all of the problems that he has, all the issues that he has, so that you can understand how these buffs are interacting with him a little better. But the thing I want to drill in on here is the no regs issue. Mr. Fantastic no regs a lot. He no regs on his shift reflection bullet thing, the little beam that comes out. That no regs all the time, so you just lose like 180 damage for free sometimes, so the enemy just loses pressure all the time. His hits will make the sound of you hitting enemies, but not register on a regular basis. And there's like a whole bunch of issues like that. His E cannot register, like you name it. There's a whole bunch of problems he has with registration issues in the same way that probably Black Panther does. In the patch discussion of the game, not in the notes, but in the discussion of the game, NetEase has said that they are improving the netcode. And from everything I've seen, the hit registration for a lot of Mr. Fantastic's attacks looks much more consistent. So if that holds true, I think you will find not only will you be able to kill people easier with Mr. Fantastic and get those critical picks when you need to because of his improved damage, but you will actually also be able to get those picks easier because the registration on his hits will be much more reliable and he will spread more damage on average. So I think Mr. Fantastic is going to show up and surprise a lot of people with the amount of damage he's going to put out. I'm not saying he's going to be like S tier, but I think he's going to be moving his way up the hierarchy quite a bit because of consistency and output. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about, and I think this is the most important thing, I probably should have put it at the top, but whatever. There's a lot to cover. I believe I have worked out the new combo that people will be using on Mr. Fantastic. This is the kind of thing that it's math, okay? So you can even go test it in the range. It works right now. It just overshoots the elasticity, so it's not efficient now, but you can test it if you want to. We know that you can only get 70 charge out of his abilities, so you need to swing 4 times to get to big mode. We also, us Fantastic players, also know about his animation cancels. So the way I think you're going to want to play this, and we're going to have to, obviously we're going to have to test this all out when we get the actual patch in. There might be some sneaky plays we can do that I'm not thinking of, like cycling cooldowns in a different way to get big again faster. But first, you're going to do a stretch punch. And as soon as you hit the enemy, you're going to rip your camera down to the ground, hit right click, so that you immediately cancel that. You don't want to grab them. You want to cancel that, right? Because that's a very exposed thing to do to grab someone close up like that. Then you're going to do another stretch punch. And this is generally going to be at close range anyway, so it's going to be fine. You'll do another stretch punch. Then you'll cancel that punch as soon as it hits the target with an E. Then you will punch 1 time. Then you will punch 1 more time, but cancel with your last E. This will provide you with a little bit of shielding going into your next big mode. And it is almost as fast as the current method. If you look on screen, I'm like demonstrating it. You can see the time it takes on screen. It is not too bad. And I think this cycle, perfectly executed, is close enough to be good and still allow you to big mode very frequently right in the face of the enemy when they're trying to kill you. Now, I think you are going to die more trying to get back into big mode than you did in the past. However, we may need to use our shift ability to preserve our elasticity so that we can get our right click back. That might be another option. So an option on the table for us is it takes 3 seconds for our elasticity to start declining. So one thing we might be able to do is you go right click, and it's 6 seconds to use your right click, right? So that's going to retain 30. So what you might be able to do is you might be able to do like punch E and then shift, count to 2, cancel, punch E, and then right click to get big. We'll have to see if you can do something like that. Like maybe it's punch right click or something to get big. We'll have to see exactly what the math works out on that and if that's viable. But it could be a way to juke people in those messy team fights into not shooting you for a second, and then you cancel it and hit them again, right? While they're not really paying attention because they're expecting you to stand there as long as possible. Possible way to get back to big mode. We're going to have to experiment with that one when we get the actual patch because I'm going to need to be able to feel that out and see if it's fast. All right, well, that is all I have for you. Those are my thoughts on the Fantastic buffs. I think they're pretty good. I'm pretty excited. I'm tentatively excited that he's going to feel very good to play in the next patch. He's certainly looking like he's going to be better than he is now, and I'm probably going to get flamed less for playing him, which is going to be nice because I'm a little tired of being yelled at for playing a character who's honestly not that bad right now. He's not amazing, but my goodness, the hate I get for playing a dude where I can top score with him on the regular is pretty annoying. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little review on my thoughts of Mr. Fantastic buffs. And enjoyed watching some mid gameplay in the background while we were at it. I will catch up with you next time. Have a lovely day. Warm regards.
Reginald.
I would like to take a moment to express my genuine and significant gratitude to Bonehead for becoming my first Oathtaker level member. Your support really does mean a lot to me and has made it so much easier for me to continue to justify the amount of effort I pour into this channel. I'd also like to thank Miles Williams Lewis, Joseph Davison, Shackleford, and McSpan for supporting my channel through my Adept level membership. Your atypical support really means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. I'd also like to extend a thank you to the rest of my members. Support helps the channel a lot. If you would like to become a member of this channel, there is a link in the description below and a join button next to the subscribe button. Thank you all so much for visiting. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.